Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Comic Book Weekly. And guys, it's almost the holidays. Speaking of the holidays, we were just talking about the holidays. I am Mike Spider Slayer, Comic Book Corner 2.0. And of course, we have Cat Comic Uno as well.
Hello, guys. What's up?
And also, we have Brant Fowler.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Yeah, guys, we got a good show for you today. We got some great comic books. We got some Doctor Strange news that just dropped a little while ago. We got a lot of comics to talk about also. But just to give you a heads up, and then we'll give you another reminder as well. We were just discussing about the holidays, and after today's show, we will not be on for the next 2 weeks, which would be Christmas week and New Year's week. And then we would come back on the beginning of the new year to start fresh. And so this way we can all enjoy our holidays and you guys can enjoy your holidays and you don't have to stay up super late to watch us and stuff like that. So we'll remind you guys again later on, but let's kick off the show. Let's start off with some of this great news that we have to talk about.
Yeah, we have a lot of news pieces this week to wrap our year up. First up, we have Cowboy Bebop is canceled. So that happened. You know, there's a lot of hype around the show. That what's so interesting, just to tie that into comics, they have that new comic book coming out from Titan. Like, that sucks that you have a tie into a comic that of a canceled TV show. And
it's funny because I did put that on my poll. And I debated about it, too, before the announcement happened. I'm like, should I put this on my poll and see what it's like in the comic form? And I'm like, yeah, why not? And then I hear, like, literally 2 days later, the show's being canceled. But the show did well.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I've only seen one episode of the show. I did watch the first episode, and I really enjoyed it. I mean, I was going to watch the rest of it. I am glad that my Kickstarter is over because I used it heavily in my promotion. Like, if you like Cowboy Bebop, you'll like In the Land of the Dragon. So.
They can still like the anime. They just can't like the live action show.
Right.
I think it's just mostly there's just a lot of bad feedback about the show, like review wise. I mean, that did it. I don't know. I didn't have any plans on watching it. I know my friend, he's a big like fan of the anime, and I asked him, "Are you gonna watch the live action?" He's like, "No." So I think that was a big problem too. Is like most people that like the anime weren't as sold on the live action.
Yeah, I actually like I'd never seen the anime, and I watched both. I watched the first episode of both back to back. Like I watched the live action, then the anime, and I like the live action better. So you know,
damn, those are fighting words.
I know. To each their own, though. You know,
to each their own, definitely.
But it just seems like certain shows that Netflix is just like not hesitating on canceling. You know, even if they do halfway decent.
Jupiter Legacy.
Yeah. I think it's because they have more hits on their hands now, and it's like they can be a little bit more picky, you know?
I think they're also just nervous that, like, since COVID, they're like, they don't want to spend so much money. They're like, we got to really limit ourselves. Because I remember one show I really loved was Teenage Bounty Hunters. That was such a good show. That got canceled in one season. And then Glow, me and Brant really liked, and that got canceled before its final season. So they're definitely, like, cutting a lot of fat with the... I'm sure
Glow was what, 2 seasons, right?
Yeah, it was 2, and the second season was so good. And they announced a final season. I think maybe I don't think they filmed some of it, but they definitely wrote some of it, and they canceled it.
Yeah, I know the whole cast was excited about it, and tweeting about it and stuff, and then but they'll keep on making tons of like holiday movies and stuff like that.
They're making their money on that too. Yeah, those holiday movies because they're probably so cheap to make. And then
probably
didn't Kurt Russell come out with that second Christmas Chronicles movie? They came out with a part 2 with that.
There's like a third Vanessa Hudgens where she's like playing 2 people, now she's playing like 3 people. Like the Christmas Princess or something like that. I don't remember what
the Christmas Princess multiverse.
Yeah, exactly.
That does not seem up my alley, but good for Netflix for making that money. But let's get into the next thing, which is the Wonder Woman video game is in the works. So the reason I wanted to talk about this, I'm probably not going to play it just because I don't play many video games, but it's cool that we're finally getting some more female-led video games, especially like a character like Wonder Woman.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't play a lot, but when I do, I like play. I get into a game and I play it a lot, and like I just think that's cool, and I hope it's really good gameplay. I hope it's not. I hope it goes like the way of like Batman games, where it's like totally immersive and really good controls and stuff like that. So it's easy to play, easy to pick up and learn and stuff like that. So we'll see.
Have you guys seen Batman Soul of the Dragons? Kind of like Batman teams up with Bruce Lee in 70s kung fu flick. I have not seen it.
No, I haven't seen it.
I feel like I've heard of it, but I don't remember anything about it. All right, well, let's get into our last media news piece, which is that there's going to be a Gotham Knights TV show. And to give you a description, first it's from the Batwoman writers. So the creators of, or I don't know if it's creators, but at least some of the writers of Batwoman, the television show. And the premise is in the wake of Bruce Wayne's murder, the TV series finds his rebellious adopted son, which we don't know which one, and he has many, forging an unlikely alliance with the children of Batman's enemies when they are framed for killing Batman. Now branded the city's most wanted criminals, the renegade band of misfits must fight to clear their name. But in a Gotham with no Dark Knight to protect it, the city descends into the most dangerous it's ever been. This sounds like a cool comic book premise, like a cool Black Label premise, but since I don't like Batwoman, and there was nothing I really liked about that show. I don't know if I have a lot of promise for this one, and it doesn't feel. It feels like a movie. Does this really feel like a TV show premise? It's such an interesting, very Elseworld.
Is Batwoman gonna possibly be in it with a bunch of other cast of characters?
I think anything's possible, but I don't know which characters it's gonna be.
The one thing that gave me pause with it, and at first I hadn't even marked this, was I was afraid because the Batwoman writers and stuff were involved that it was going to be kind of tied to that. But that article said that it was not a spinoff. They were very clear about that. So I don't know what that means exactly. It kind of reminds me of the Flash Forward and Arrow, though. It's like that kind of vibe. Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, I guess, until we get more details in which characters are going to be in it, I think it's kind of hard to make a judgment on it. I mean, you got the premise of kind of what it's going to be like, and anything that doesn't have Batman in his show, you're kind of like, it's like a cheap knockoff of a Batman. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Seems like a cool comic. Like I would really read that comic, but I don't know if, again, I want to watch a whole TV show about that. It sounds like a lot of work.
I mean, we already had a couple Batman shows without Batman in it, right? I mean,
Batwoman being one of them,
right? Yeah. And what, Gotham?
Gotham has its own crazy little culture over there. It's a weird show.
Yeah, and then there's Titans, which has Bruce Wayne in it, but not Batman.
That's weird. I still only watched the first episode. So,
Tevye brings up a good point. Why are they copying the video game of Gotham Knights plot? The reason I think that's interesting is the video game hasn't even come out yet, so that's such a weird. It feels like TV has been doing that for Naomi. I mean, we could actually get into the next topic with this, but Naomi has a TV show coming out. And she's a really relatively new character with only one comic book. And they're like, let's make a TV show. Speaking of, we are getting a second volume of Naomi, which looks so good. And I really do love that comic. I'm just so curious to see how much material a TV show has for that.
Yeah. The TV show I haven't even touched. But it's not out yet, right? Or is it out?
It's coming out in a month, I think.
It's coming out in a month. Okay. Well, then that's why I haven't touched it. But yeah, I'm so behind on superhero television anyway. But I'm excited for the second volume of the comic, though, because I know we both, Kat, really love that first volume and just her character in general and her whole supporting cast. So I'm excited for that.
The art looks just so good.
I like the first volume. I like the art. I just find myself at this point, though, hard to get excited because it seems like it's been a very long time.
It has.
And at the same time, I'm like, oh my gosh, what is Brian Michael Bendis going to do in this second volume, and is it going to make you hate the character? And I hope that's not the case. I hope he can write a good story. It's not drawn out. It's something that hopefully that you can care about You know, I felt that he didn't really need to drag Naomi into his Justice League book. I think that was just kind of stupid. And honestly, and I'm going to say it, and I don't mean it to say it to be mean, but I just feel like it was very just greedy of him or whatever it is. Be like, hey, look at what I created, and I can put her in the Justice League, where it would have been great to leave her out of that and make people miss her instead of forcing her in that comic book. She does not have a right to be in the Justice League comic.
Yeah, I agree. She was kind of shoehorned in there. It was different, like with the Avengers, where he was a big fan of Jessica Drew and he put her in his Avengers team, but it felt more organic there.
Right.
Like Naomi just popped.
Had so many more issues.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. So
and the difference is Jessica Drew. The Avengers has had their share of different characters, right? And I mean, and Jessica Drew can hold her own, like she's an experienced person, you know, or experienced hero. Or Naomi is like, dude, I've been on the scene like 5 seconds.
Right.
Like, put me in the Justice League is the most elite team there is in DC Comics. You know, I can understand her being in what was the book that she was in?
Young Justice.
Young Justice. Like, I can understand that, but Justice League, come on, man.
Yeah, I agree.
We do have a question here. Tevia says, why did it take so long for Naomi season 2? It is because the artist was on Far Sector, and Bendis didn't want to do without the artist, which honestly, like, kudos, because I don't think that book would be the same without the art it has. Right. So I do agree, though, with Mike that, like, I'd rather have waited. Like, I'd rather have been excited just to see more Naomi. But it feels so separate from Justice League that I'm still excited. And also because I haven't been reading Justice League. I do miss the character because, like, I haven't seen her. So,
yeah, right.
So, we'll see how it goes, though. Definitely picking it up. So, next up, we have this is a rumor, not rumor, but it's like in talks. Skybound is in talks to take over G.I. Joe and Transformers. What would IDW have without G.I. Joe and Transformers? That's kind of huge.
I mean,
TMNT have is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, that's like their biggest thing, and you know, I think they have they still have like Ghostbusters and stuff like that, but they're not on that level. Yeah, it would be huge. It's not the first time, you know, right? Other companies have had that license before. I think they need the change, though. I think both franchises would, benefit from a little fresh paint. And putting it under Skybound with Kirkman, who supposedly is a big fan of both franchises, at the helm, not necessarily writing it, but at the helm of it, I think it could be good. I'm ready for something different because, especially with Transformers, I think IDW just, I don't know, it's just never clicked for me. You know, I keep trying to get into their Transformers stuff, and it's I don't know, something and just doesn't work.
They keep trying too. They keep rebooting.
I hope that, you know, if they do get it, they acquire those licenses. Those licenses. Like you said, I hope they get different writers that can actually explain this universe or make it more exciting for, you know, longtime fans of the characters. I would love to see a Skybound G.I. Joe comic. I think, you know, again, being that these properties are in Skybound Image, I think it's much more attractive for certain writers to go and be like, all right, now my book might get recognized over here, you know? Yeah. But I think IDW is in trouble. They can't afford these properties anymore. And I just don't think they're moving their books, you know?
Yeah. I mean, like Dark Horse is getting the Star Wars stuff back. They were doing that. And now this possibly, I mean, I don't know. It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to watch. I mean, they still have Lock and Key, but Lock and Key's over. So it's like, what spin on this franchise can we put out now?
Yeah, they can't put all your eggs in one basket, right?
They need more creator-owned books then, because IDW relied so much on work for hire. But then that's the reverse with Skybound. Like Skybound and Image is so known for not work for hire, have creator-owned books. So now to have a work for hire, that's interesting.
I mean, you can't just have those books, because obviously they got to pay a license for those, you know, to to do those comic books. You know what I'm saying? And if that's all you have and you don't have any other independent books, like Kat was saying, you're gonna cut into your profits.
Yeah. So to address Mike Manhattan that you just popped up there, the IDW Transformer books aren't bad. They're just, they cram so many characters and so many plot lines in those books that it's really, really hard to follow and not get completely confused.
Yeah.
That's always been my problem. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, not at all.
That's mine too.
When you look at something like Power Rangers, like Brant's never, he's only watched a little bit of Power Rangers, but being able to get in that comic compared to like Transformers, how can you get into those books if you've never seen Transformers?
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into go on, Mike.
No, I was just going to say, when it comes to the Transformers, I wanted to agree with Brant. Like, I've tried so many different series, and I just, it was so hard to get into them. I think there was one, like, I like Hail Megatron or something, like when what was it? Was he a good guy, or did he go over? Or I don't even exactly remember what happened, but that was pretty good, that I remember. But they're so far and few between where it's just like, you're like, oh man, your brain just like shuts down.
Yeah. So I don't know. Hopefully good things are in the future.
So next up we have Alex Ross doing a Fantastic Four graphic novel. So I believe he's writing and drawing it. And this is interesting because, we've seen DC delve into the graphic novel market, but to have such a big name like Alex Ross doing a graphic novel of the Fantastic Four, changes the market up a bit. It's not a floppy, and this is definitely directing more to the book market, which, can't be denied a bigger market than the floppies. So is this, Marvel once again experimenting? They've done it with their digital comics, and now they're doing more graphic novels that go straight to the bookshelf, which I find really interesting. I don't know if this is giving me enough to pick up a graphic novel. Like, there has to be someone like a Runaways book for me to pick this, graphic novel up that's not a floppy. But this is a good way because there's so many Alex Ross fans.
This is a Fantastic Four, so
yeah.
I would say that this is worth a pickup because he's doing an iconic team, right? And he knows how to draw those characters. Like, he's got that style that fits, fits them to celebrate that. How long have they been around? 60 years or whatever it is. I think that's what we're going to be celebrating. And for some of the images that we saw in this article, it looks amazing. And I would pick it up just for the artwork alone. So I would definitely give Alex Ross my money for that type of graphic novel for sure.
All right. Well, let's get into the next thing, which is We Have Demons, which is Scott Snyder's comiXology book. It's been officially announced that it's getting single issues in March. So that was I don't know if they had announced it before, because we knew it was going to be published through Dark Horse, but we didn't know if it was going to be single issues or a graphic novel. So cool that we got a release date, and cool that they're actually releasing these as single issues. The out of all the books that came out of the Scott Snyder comiXology stuff, I read the first issue of all of them. We Are Demons, the one I definitely like the most. I don't know if I liked it enough to continue it, but we'll see what type of week it is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into the next thing, which is what if Captain Carter joins comics. So I have not watched the show, but I know Mike and Brant have.
Yeah, I've only watched that first episode, but that was all about her. So, I love the character, right? And I love the character from the movies as well. And so it's cool seeing, her get a little bit of spotlight, whatever they do with her within the comics. That's, it's a neat story. What if she got the Captain America powers instead of Steve? So, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree. I think she's a great character, and in the What If series, she was really awesome in the cartoon, and in later episodes, she's actually pretty cool too. So I would love to see like continued adventures with her. I would be excited to read that book. Yeah. And then we got Mike Manhattan that put up the comment before. He said, speaking of Scott Snyder, did you hear his book Nocterra is getting a Netflix series? I did hear about that.
Yeah, I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Maybe Brant wasn't on the show for that, but yeah, it's cool. I mean, we all like the comic, so I think it definitely works very well for a TV show. The way it's written,
I think it'll be really cool, man. I cannot wait to see how they put that whole thing together.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's get into our next thing, which is Marauders gets a relaunch. So we knew it was already getting a new creative team. They had that annual. Seems like we kept saying, is this the month? Is this the month it's getting relaunched? But we now have an officially new issue 1, which I always like that. I know most people are like, oh, I get so confused. I hate that they do that. But I think it's more confusing. Like Nightwing, a good example. Love Nightwing. It's a little harder to say, oh, pick up issue 78 than say, oh, pick up issue 1. You could like start the run from there. So I actually think it's a little easier to recommend comics when it goes back to issue 1. That way they know where to start from.
Yeah, I think us as like longtime comic readers, it was like resistance at first, for that kind of change when it started being that more prevalent with the relaunches and new number 1s. And it's like now, like you're saying, it makes a lot more sense for new readers and just trying to keep track of everything. But at the same time, it's like those series like Amazing Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, it's like you want those big numbers, right? Action Comics, Detective, whatever. Yeah.
I honestly, like, I don't mind renumbering either, but at the same time, when I heard that this was getting a renumbering to start over, I'm like, it's only at 25 freaking issues. Like, why does it need to start? It's not like this rich in history comic book that everyone was glamoring over. Like, it's Marauders, and it's only 25 issues in. It's very easy to just put on the freaking label, new story arc, new jumping on point.
Yeah.
It's just super easy to do that. It's just adding a different volume to it. And I don't know. I don't think it's really necessary to make it start over. I think the only reason why they're doing it is because of the whole Destiny of X situation. They want to make sure everything has like a brand new start. So that's why they're doing it. But I would have been just fine with it being issue 26 or 27 or whatever we're at. It doesn't really bug me. But regardless though, I am excited for the new writer, the team, the direction, because it's lost its way for quite a while now. And I'm excited for it.
Yeah, me too. No, go ahead. That's all I was going to say. I was just agreeing. Yeah,
So next up, speaking of the X-Men, we do have the kind of the premise of Immortal X-Men, or at least the roster, is going to be the leaders of the X-Men. So let me see if they have the actual everybody basically in it. But everybody that's usually the Quiet Council, exactly. Yeah. So everyone who's been part of the Quiet Council. So it's going to be Professor X, Emma Frost, Destiny, Mystique, Storm, Nightcrawler, Kitty Pryde, Colossus, Sebastian Shaw, Exodus, and Mr. Sinister. I'm excited for that. I feel like that's always something that's like, oh, we just got one scene of. So I'm interested. Don't know how long I'll pick it up for, because again, I'm only reading Marauders right now, but I'm interested to get issue 1.
The thing that gives me pause is Kieran Gillen writing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought the same thing, right?
Every time I think of Kieran, every time I think of Kieran Gillen, I think of the Iron Man ring, the 10 ring core.
Yeah,
it's all that comes to mind.
I worry about it too. I mean, yeah, he has written some decent stuff too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I worry about it. I don't know if it's going to be like, what is this book really going to be about? It does seem like it's got some heavy hitter X-Men in there, which could make for a really excellent book if it's written well. As long as they're not sitting around a table every issue, I'm okay with that.
I mean, of course they will. It opens up every issue with the Quiet Council. I wouldn't be surprised.
That'd
be an interesting comic.
Yeah.
What we be discussing today?
Yeah. What are we discussing today, guys? Oh, I think we should keep Sabretooth in the center of Krakoa, and then that's when Sabretooth busts out in his own comic or whatever it is. I don't know. It's just I am excited about the new direction about X-Men because hopefully we have like a real direction again. But I'm like scared, because I don't know if they're gonna mess it up again.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. This is one of those you have to wait and see. Like we said, I just want to put it out there. Kieran Gillen, Once and Future, really good. Really good. But when it comes to Marvel mainstays, Young Avengers, Iron Man, so we'll see.
I always confuse him with the actress Karen Gillan. Yeah, that's understandable. They have a very similar name. All right. Well, let's get into the next topic, which is Batman, Robin, and Deathstroke are getting a crossover. And, I'm not reading Deathstroke Inc., but I think this makes, all the sense in the world. Williamson's writing all three. There's a lot of characters that should interact with each other. So I'll pick up Deathstroke Inc. for that crossover. Maybe they'll get me back into the series. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm actually excited about it. I'm just like you. I don't read Deathstroke Inc., but it does make sense. And this whole, what is it? The Shadow of the, is it Shadow War?
of the Bat or something?
Shadow something. It's at least interesting. So, I'll try it out. I'm hoping you don't have to read the Deathstroke Inc. issues to get the whole story, but we'll see.
I read all three, so it's not an issue for me. It does make sense that since he does write all three, like you said, that he's going to have some type of crossover thing. And I guess it seems like it's going to do its job where it's just like, oh, we want to connect more of the Bat books maybe together, which it's fine. I mean, we're used to it from Marvel, so why not have it in DC as well? But he's writing it all. He's doing it all. So, hey, I think that's going to be okay.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of our two big topics of this week, so Tom Taylor has officially signed an exclusive deal, and this time is with DC Comics. And this makes sense. I feel like it's been a long time coming for him to be exclusive somewhere. He's been like being in this middle lane for years now, being able to eat his cake in both Marvel and DC. But I feel like DC in the past year has been giving him bigger titles. With Marvel, I don't remember he has Dark Ages, but that's like, it's still an Elseworld book, and it's not really an event book. And that took, I think is delayed for a year. So Marvel definitely wasn't giving him the heavy hitters. So DC's giving him Superman and Nightwing. So I think this is a great move for him.
It's kind of funny. Dark Ages and Dark Knights of Steel are coming out at the same time, right? But anyway, he's hitting that out of the park at DC, I think, and it just makes sense. Like you said, he's got Nightwing's the best Nightwing that's been in a very long time. Superman, Son of Kal-El is really good. So it just, it works, and I'm happy about it because we'll keep getting great comics from DC by Tom Taylor. So.
Yeah, and I think he just gets the DC characters probably better as well. I think it being that he's created all those Elseworld tales and he's done Nightwing and Superman. I just think he's got a little bit more there. What we got from him in Marvel was Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which was not all that good. X-Men Red, which was all not that good. But he did
new Wolverine.
He did do all new
Wolverine,
which was good. Superior Iron Man, which was good. So he did have his things, but I think his titles are much stronger in the DC side of things, and I feel like
look at Injustice.
DC needs something. They need like a really strong writer right now, and I feel like they found it in Tom Taylor. I mean, they probably thought they had that in Brian Michael Bendis, and you could see what happened there. So now, at least now, they probably see, hey, look, he's selling us some comic books now. Let's give him that deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the biggest writer there right now.
Yeah.
You know, Williamson's been doing a lot as well. But those are the only two I can really think of that's like been really hitting it hard, because obviously you had so many people leave. Yeah, James Tynion leave. So that was such, Scott Snyder left. So that was such a big blow for them. But yeah, no, super excited to see where he takes everything. I think this is a great move. All right, well, let's get into our main topic here, which is the new Sorcerer Supreme has, of course, been revealed before that official issue comes out. And it's going to be Doctor Strange's wife, Clea Strange. I don't know much about her. So, I mean, I'll pick it up. My biggest worry, though, is that they're just trying to get off the fame of, like, Jane Foster. You know, something that was built up very well. And just to have, like, the girlfriend of the superhero become the next superhero, which, you know, a lot of times I love. It's been great, and you know, we got kind of Spider-Gwen similar, but I don't know. This feels like, where was the build-up? Who the hell's Clea?
She's currently in the book, right? In the Death of Doctor Strange book, isn't she like the wife of Doctor Strange, or the former wife, or
she was his wife from a long time ago. Yeah,
right. And she's in that current like little mini series that we're reading right now, The Death of Doctor Strange.
Yeah,
am I right?
Is she? I think they mentioned her name at the very least, or she popped up at the very end, or something.
Who's that girl that he was kissing though in the 1960s Doctor Strange? Isn't that her? I thought that was her.
That might be her. You're right. I don't remember, honestly. It's all kind of jumbling together in my head.
Right. I'm not a Doctor Strange aficionado here. Yeah. I don't know anything about Doctor Strange at all. So when I heard about this chick, I'm like, huh? it was like the last thing I expected, which maybe that's a good thing because you didn't expect this character.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, I'm like, this sucks because you just spoiled the book. You just spoiled the miniseries. Like the only thing now you need to find out is who killed Doctor Strange.
Right. Maybe it was Clea. I don't know.
Like, I want to become the next Sorcerer Supreme.
Yeah. I have an old friend I used to do a podcast with, and he's like a huge Doctor Strange fan. And that's the only reason I know her name, because he would always talk about, where's Clea? I want my Clea back. and that kind of thing. And it's like, but from what I remember, I don't think she's like, I don't think she has any, like, I don't think she knows magic, or maybe she does. Maybe I'm completely wrong. But it's kind of an odd choice, but you know, whatever. I hate that it was spoiled beforehand, but I'm not surprised at all.
Right.
For me, I don't mind just because I don't care about Doctor Strange. Like if I cared about the character, I'd be like, why did you spoil this? But this is like, all right, whatever. I'll pick up the first issue, see what it's all about, but I don't really care because it's like who?
Yeah, I didn't realize she was a defender. Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And I think when I was reading the article, I think she was like a Supreme in the dark, Sorcerer Supreme in the dark dimension. I think that's what they also said. So I feel like an idiot because I don't know anything about it, but it's just kind of like, I don't know, maybe I'm gonna check it out and see, because it is. That makes sense, obviously, as a new jumping on point because it's a new Sorcerer Supreme. So maybe I'll check it out, see what she's about.
But there's so many more
she's the niece of Dormammu?
That could have been it. Oh, okay.
Okay, I did not know that at all. Thank you for schooling us on the history of Clea.
That's why we were asking.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
I just feel like
I just saw that.
I was gonna say, I just feel like there's so many more interesting people that they could have had, like Nico and Magic, and again, we were talking about Strange Academy, and it just seems like there's other people that this could have been a better role for. But it seems like the Clea fans in the chat are very happy, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, that's cool.
And who knows? We might like it. We say that, this could be bad, but it's kind of neat. Dormammu's sister is
Uma,
and that is Clea's mom.
Huh. Okay.
The side of the Marvel universe I know nothing about, so it'll be interesting to see. But yeah, that's all.
Mm-hmm. So if it's okay, so it says
Doyle's aunt. Is that right?
Dormammu and Master Sorcerer. So does that make her related to Doyle then?
Yeah,
Are they
that would be
cousins?
Or would that be his aunt? Or no, cousins, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
they're
you're right.
cousins.
Cousins.
So
Okay.
she's related to the little dude in Strange Academy.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That is funny.
Brother Voodoo was robbed.
Yeah.
Again, there's
so many
choices.
magic people out there. That's so funny, though.
Scarlet Witch was another one that people were saying that could have been interesting. Again, Magic, they've had so many what if stories with her for that. Nico's a cult fan favorite. So many interesting ones, but they went with Clea. But we'll pick it up. We'll give our opinion in March, I think it comes out. But yeah, that's all the news for this week. So we're gonna jump into, there's no Kickstarters to talk about. So we're gonna jump into the comic books.
All right, yep. That's right, guys. So we're gonna talk about those comics.
Except hopefully. Brant still has a plug somehow in the chat.
It's fine. I'll do it at the end.
Oh, okay.
In the end, we'll definitely plug. I forgot that's coming soon, but it's not out yet. So.
No, it's not out yet. It's going to be a while, actually.
Yeah.
So we have our comics to talk about. So just a spoiler warning: if you have not read all your comics yet, we're gonna spoil them here. I think I did not read a couple books still. I didn't get a chance to read. I did forget about the book. Did you guys pick up the Mother F Goose book from
No, but I heard about it later on.
Yeah. I did buy it and I didn't get a chance to read it, but it wasn't priority because it was a one shot. So I was like, oh, I didn't. So I'm going to leave that till later. So that was, I think, the one book that I didn't read. And then there was that other one from DC that came out where Power Girl's in it and Red Tornado's in it. The heck?
I skipped that one. One Star Squadron. Or
yeah. So I bought it. I bought it and I started reading it, and right away I'm like, oh, I hate it. So I was like, I stopped reading it. I just couldn't get into it. The artwork was really not my taste, man.
Yeah.
I didn't like it at all.
I took one look and I was like, nah, I'm good.
Unfortunately, it just was not my thing, Yeah. So, but there was some good books, though. I must say, though, this week that I was excited to read. And so let's talk about the first big one this week, and that was Devil's Reign. This book was pretty cool. It was like the first book that I read. So I read it like last Thursday, and I'm trying to remember what happened. One thing was Tony Stark's going to run for mayor.
Almost was our title.
Yeah. Yep. And Kingpin's going to be running for president. That's if he becomes president, that's going to be some crazy trouble. And
we got a super chat, guys.
Let's read these. Yeah, we'll read the super chat. Well, let's finish the Devil's Reign. Well, it's attached to Devil's Reign.
It is.
Our Outlawed and Devil's Reign really repeats a Civil War. The former is about Roxxon and the latter is about Kingpin. Funny, Miles was involved both. Honestly, that was my biggest critique. I really do think it was a little bit too familiar. A lot of it felt like, okay, I've literally read this before. And even the Kingpin stuff, that's interesting, but Lex Luthor did this already. So I'm like, every story felt really recycled, except Iron Man, just because I'm like, oh, that's something I've never seen Iron Man do. So I'm like, he hasn't really been in the political circuit from what I know. So I was like, oh, that's really interesting. But everything else just felt like I've seen this before.
Yeah, exactly. That was my only problem with it too. And they even kind of referenced it, like Captain America's like, we've been down this road before. We're not going to do this again, kind of thing. And at least they know that they're recycling it. But that's my only concern with it. Yeah. But go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, no. So I was going to say, well, history repeats itself, right? We've obviously seen this before, and like you said, they did mention it in there. So yes, it did have a similar feel, but also though I did like the way the book was written. It did has some interesting aspects on it about Kingpin, how he realized his mind was messed with, and he's like, I should know who you are, but for some reason I'm forced not to.
Which I'm glad about, because I was like, I thought that was just going to go down the rabbit hole of like, I know who you are, Daredevil. I'm like, we also seen this story before, so that was nice that he didn't actually know.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was kind of cool. I like that part of the story. I mean, I thought it was good. I liked it, and I am definitely looking forward to more when it comes to this book. It's like you said, we've seen similarities to this. Curious to see what will happen with Kingpin and his whole presidency. I didn't see that coming. I really didn't. I thought it was just Kingpin gonna try to be reelected for mayor, and then Tony Stark was going for mayor. You know what I'm saying? And they were gonna battle it out as mayor versus mayor.
Right.
So I don't know, man. If Tony Stark does become mayor, that will be even more wild, though.
Yeah.
But it will even be attached to the regular Iron Man series. Like, that's the one, even though this does feel so attached to a lot of books because there's so many tie-ins, it doesn't feel attached to many of the ongoing books. Because, you know, let's say Spider-Man. Yeah, he has a tie-in, but it's a mini-series. It's not really going to be anything to do with Amazing Spider-Man. The only thing this really feels attached to is Daredevil, which I think is a shame. Because, like, with stuff like King in Black, I felt like it really felt like a universe event. And, you know, this is not going on in Iron Man right now that he's thinking about being mayor, from what I understand.
He's got a broken neck in Iron Man right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, there's certain, I mean, so they don't want to put it in every other book. I mean, that's also our complaint too about these events is they put it in every single book, and then it becomes this
And then you still
thing.
have those tie-ins. You still have they're still making money.
Yeah, you do have those tie-ins. You do have the Thunderbolts that you know tie-in book that's coming out. There's a couple of other ones that are coming out as well. So they do have their share. So maybe the Iron Man story just might take place in just the regular book, and it doesn't need to be in you know, in its separate title. So I don't know. The one thing that I liked about this particular book was I loved how this was a main event book, and you had a lot of characters in the book, which made it feel like a Marvel Universe event. Like they did throw in a lot of characters in there. Like they threw in Captain America, they threw in Iron Man, they threw in Jessica, they threw in Luke, they even threw in Darkhawk in there in one point too. So and they didn't even have to throw in Darkhawk in there because he's got a mini series. But they did. So it made it feel like it was a much larger scale. And they did that within the main book, which I appreciated because even though there are tie-in books and other stories out there, at least it's not through every single Marvel book. So that's what I did like about it.
There's a tightrope to balance, right? Like you want events to feel like something, but then at the same time, you don't want to... Let's say again, Iron Man, Cantwell's writing that. You don't want to interfere with the story he's writing just because an event's going on. But I think that's why you have to build events a little bit better and make sure that like they are meant to be. For Daredevil, it was, and I'm glad it span out of something. But I don't know. I thought this one was very okay for me. I will continue to read it, see where it goes because I really like the Daredevil ongoing series, but I don't feel like I need this event. And, you know, I'm not a big event fan, so that could definitely be a reason why. But I look at something like Deathstroke and Batman and Robin that's coming out. They are definitely going to build up to that event because literally Ravagers and Robin. And then, you know, you have the interaction between Batman and Robin. You have like Black Canary and Deathstroke in those books. So like they're already building up to that event. I don't know if besides the Daredevil stuff, if this was truly built up.
Yeah, because I mean, I get both points with that because like I could really see this event doing well. Like if you put in those street level characters, like you put it in Moon Knight and Darkhawk and Miles, but we know it's not in Darkhawk. Darkhawk's got other stuff going on. Miles is dealing with the Beyond stuff in the next issue, so that's not going to be happening. You know, I could see it in Moon Knight and stuff like that, but I think it would be cool if it was spread out across those street level hero books, and then it would feel like this street level event, you know. But at the same time, you got Captain America and Iron Man involved in this too. So, I get that point, and I don't like that events these days have to have like 30 tie-ins, and it becomes this 50, 60 issue thing that you have to follow and keep track of.
Right.
I'd much rather it be like contained within just like a few books or just its own thing.
Right.
And I think I agree, we need to get back to that kind of thing. But as far as this story, I actually really enjoyed it too, even with the comparisons to stuff like Civil War. I think it was very well written, very nice art. I liked Kingpin's motivations here. I liked his capturing Kilgrave and who knows what he did to him at the end of that issue. and maybe he comes out of this with Kilgrave's power somehow. I think that's kind of hinted at.
Wild, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff to work with that I hope it's going to be a fun story going forward.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was just the first issue, so we still got a long time to go here. All right. Any other thoughts on Devil's Reign?
I think I'm good.
All right. Serenity just said, see you guys next week. Hopefully I'll be caught up by then, going on a mini vacation next week. So if I don't get distracted with activities, I can get some reading and stay geeky. Just a reminder for you guys that weren't here, this will be our last show for the year. And then we will return on the, what is it, January 4th or something like that?
January 4th, I believe, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be returning on January 4th. So this will be our last show of the year, so we can enjoy our holidays, right? Not that we don't enjoy spending it with you guys, but we can focus on wrapping our Christmas presents and spending time with family and not, being
refreshed when we get back.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's talk about another relaunching of a book, kind of. We got a new creative team, and this is Batman issue 118. So I like this book. I thought this one was kind of like almost got back to basics with Batman. I almost said Spider-Man. With Batman here.
We wish for Spider-Man to go back to basics.
Yeah, exactly. It just wasn't this overwhelming amount of 100,000 new characters. It was just like Batman beating up on just a couple of thugs in the beginning of this book, and then he winds up going to this party where people were dressed up as bad guys, and there was a few like people that were actual bad guys. He does battle against Firefly in there. Which I thought was kind of cool. And then, by the time we get to the end of it, he comes across, Batman Incorporated, which supposedly killed the Abyss. Now, this is the new villain that was supposedly supposed to, be the bad guy of Batman, which I still think he is, but supposedly they killed him and they got arrested, and Bruce was trying to figure out, who took over Batman Incorporated, and we found out that it was Lex Luthor. And I totally didn't see that at the end. I was like, oh, shit. I was like, that's pretty cool.
This was definitely a solid issue. This is like, because the James Tynion thing happened, and you're like, oh, it went back downhill because obviously he was doing other events, and he was just like quickly wrapping up his story. And then this is like, oh, okay, this is like kind of the beginning of James Tynion's run. But honestly, I think even more back to basics. It wasn't focusing on, who's the next punchline, who's the next Harley Quinn. This is just like, hey, Batman's going to this party where everyone's dressed up as supervillains and needs to find out who the supervillain is. And then you have the actual story in the end, which again, you're saying was Batman Incorporated and Lex Luthor. And it's like, oh, you got me hooked. Like, A, you gave me some classic, and then B, you actually gave me like a really cool twist. And the artwork was really good. It was just a really solid issue. I'm very excited for more of this type of Batman.
Yeah, everything you both just said is kind of like my take on it as well. And I mean, the art was so beautiful. Like those close-ups of Barbara towards the beginning, really good. Love the expressions on her face. Love the expression on Batman's face at the party. And I just want to know where he got such a convincing Killer Croc costume, because that thing, it had everybody convinced until he started fighting. Yeah, but no, it was good. It was a really great opening issue. Like you guys said, provided us with a mystery, something to latch onto, and then a twist that we hadn't seen coming. So
yeah, I mean, never did you expect Lex Luthor to appear in Batman before, right. Obviously, Lex makes an appearance in the Superman annual, but it's just like he didn't expect him to show up here in the Batman book. And I was like, oh shit, man, this is now it's getting serious. Like you didn't focus on that Abyss character that, everyone was thinking about, but you focused on the classic villain first. And I like that. I could appreciate that. Didn't go to the new stuff. We went to the classic, and that was awesome.
And who doesn't want to see Batman go up against Lex Luthor, like two of the smartest people in DC. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, good stuff. All right, so we're gonna move on to our number 5. My number 5 was you might be surprised at this, was actually the Amazing Spider-Man issue.
Mine too, actually.
Beyond.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, Peter Parker's out of the coma. That's really the reason why it's number 5.
Okay, well, that is good. Yeah.
Because I was like, okay, first, why I do have a thought of that. This is a Beyond issue. A lot of times people think you could skip these point issues, even though I think most people don't remember what a point issue means because it happened like 10 years ago. But back in the day, point issues were just like, here's a miscellaneous story you can read and like try to understand what's going on. It's like a really good catch-up issue. Now here, it's supposed to be, here's supporting characters and it's not Ben Reilly or Peter Parker. So, you know, Aunt May and Dr. Octopus stuff I thought was okay. I thought it was pretty solid. And then, the ending, I was like, oh, this happened in a point issue? Cool. Like, I'm glad he's finally awake.
It definitely threw you a twist. I did not see him waking up in this issue. And the great thing is that you got to see Aunt May in an adventure with Dr. Octopus. And it was a little cringy on like how close they actually were with each other. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously their history with each other. But I was like, this is actually kind of cool. And the thing is it shows you that Aunt May does not have that. She just doesn't have the effect like she does on Peter, but she has that effect on all people. She's the cute little older lady that just like, oh man, I'll do you a solid because you're just such that nice lady, and you got to see that in this issue, which was really cool. She uses her charm on everybody. And I just enjoyed it. I really, really did. And this was that point issue where I thought, yeah, man, maybe you should read this one, right? So yeah, good stuff. Good character development on this one too.
I mean, I thought it was okay. It was fun. I'll give you that. And I liked all those things you mentioned and doing something, memorable in the point issue with Peter waking up and everything. But man, some of it was cheesy.
I think it was. You know what it reminded me of? It definitely was cheesy. It reminded me of Superior Spider-Man. He talked a lot like that. But what it also showed is that no matter what, that Doc Ock will never change.
Yeah.
No matter, even Aunt May could not change who he was, right?
Yeah.
Even at that very moment in time there, it was just like, we're trying to save somebody and you're still thinking of yourself. And so I thought that was kind of cool. And I think it was meant to be cheesy because they're just two older people. You know what I'm saying? And it was supposed to be like old fashioned and stuff like that. And there was just cheesy lines, but honestly, it was like the best issue I've read in Spider-Man in a while. And I hate to say that, but it really was.
I groan when they were like trying to get in that building and she says one word and the guy's like, oh, you remind me of my mom. I'm going to buzz you in then. It's like, what? Come on.
Aunt May, dude.
Yeah. I feel bad for Anna Marie.
Powers.
What happened there?
Anna Marie. Maybe she'll show up in the next issue, the next Beyond point issue.
Right.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, that was my number 5. And that was yours, Kat, too?
Yeah,
all right.
That's my number 5.
So, Brent, what was yours then?
So I'm gonna break the mold. The Crimson Cage, number 1. I really enjoyed
this. That was a good
this.
issue.
It was really good, and it's like it's inside wrestling, yes, but it also had like that dark, I don't know, voodoo kind of esque quality to it. John Lees and Alex Cormack, they're known for the horror stuff, so it definitely had that horror bent to it. Almost like there's this prophecy, and if you do this thing, you'll have success. So like deal with the devil kind of thing going on.
Yeah.
Which I appreciate it because it's like you got a lot of that inside wrestling, you got a lot of wrestling lingo and all that kind of stuff, and it felt like you're reading like a classic '80s wrestling book. But then you throw in that horror twist, and it just like changes it up completely. So I thought it was a really solid first issue, and I can't wait to see like what happens next if this prophecy comes true. Does he take matters into his own hands with this knife that he was given and all this stuff? So.
I liked it too. I mean, I liked how they put you inside the wrestling ring to experience what the wrestlers go through. How they're like, okay, let's do this now and let's do that now, and you see them cut their eyes and pretend, like it's all real. And then the dude really believed that the champion was like, oh man, I really appreciate you, and you're going to be the next champ, and I'll take you under my wing, and you can see that the main guy in here wanted to do things the right way. But I think in this second issue now, when it comes out, he's going to follow that voodoo prophecy and do what he's destined to do. I liked it. I thought it was really good. It was definitely a lot of dialogue in the book, but the story was so well written, you would have never known, because I was totally engrossed in the whole thing.
Yeah, I completely agree with you there. And I don't know about you, but I know you're not like a wrestling fan or anything, but it's almost seemed like he was kind of modeled a little bit after Macho Man Randy Savage with the ballet.
I thought the main guy was.
Yeah.
And then I thought the other guy was Ric Flair.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought too. Yeah.
I watched a lot of wrestling when I was a kid.
Right.
So I was like, oh, he did the leg drop off of the top rope, right? So in Randy Savage move was the elbow
off the top rope.
So I was like, okay. So I was thinking he was like a Randy Macho Man myself.
Yeah.
Cool. So cool stuff. All right. So that was that one. So let's move on now to another really big book this week, and that was the Dark Knights of Steel, issue 2. Man, oh man, this book was good. Okay, so I didn't see any of this coming. First of all, I didn't expect.
I'm glad I wasn't spoiled.
Yeah.
Didn't expect this new Supergirl to come out, like Clark's sister. She's completely new in this universe. Didn't expect Wonder Woman to be. I should have expected Wonder Woman to be in here, but for some reason, I didn't think she was going to show up here, and then I didn't think she was going to be in this relationship with this new.
I think her name was Zala.
Zala L is her name.
Zala,
yeah. I didn't expect that either, because you don't see Wonder Woman in a ton of relationships, right? So, but right off the bat, it's like, boom, there she is, and that was quite interesting. But the whole overall story was absolutely amazing. Just they're trying to deal with Jor-El's death. Batman doesn't tell anybody what Jor-El told him, and it's just like Superman's like, you don't belong part of this family, so you don't have a say in this, and then he's holding all this stuff in. Then you got the whole situation going on with Black Lightning, and then what Zal does with Black Lightning's kid. Oh my god, that was rough, dude.
Yeah. It was so it was very Injustice. Like I was like, man, this is the writer of Injustice Gods Among Us, and you wonder what that's gonna do with her relationship with Wonder Woman. Will Wonder Woman accept that? And I'm so happy that wasn't going back to the relationship with Wonder Woman. I'm just really happy it wasn't spoiled, because I was like, man, I think what made that, A, I mean, it's just awesome that they're in a relationship together, but B, it's like I didn't see it coming, because you didn't even know these two characters existed. And then the arc that you get with Zala was just so freaking good. I really liked this issue, and I really loved issue 1, but I was like, oh man, now I'm even more invested in this world.
Yeah, and I didn't expect Batman to cut off Green Arrow's arm.
I was just about to say that too.
Yeah, and that, and and then you just got like this sibling rivalry between Clark and Bruce, but Clark doesn't know, right? Jor-El's dead after he told Bruce, so Bruce is holding that secret all to himself, and it's just wow. It's a lot of stuff to unpack there, and it's got me totally invested in this. And it's like, man, what is this war is just like totally lit now with Pierce's son, being dropped like that, and it's
which we probably shouldn't have been surprised by, because Pierce usually doesn't have a son. So I was like, oh yeah, why does he exist? So then you realize, because they're gonna kill him off.
That's why.
I actually want this. I never say this about miniseries, because I love miniseries. I think it's great when you have a beginning, middle, and end. But I'm like, why is this not ongoing? I want to read this forever. This seems like such a cool world.
I mean, well, you never know. Look how long Injustice went on for.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's true. And you could get a sequel like Deceased and all that. I think it's much better than Deceased in my opinion. But yeah, this is so good. I never expected to like a medieval comic, and I love that it's gay, and it's just so good.
I love where you wind up getting to see that dungeon where Batman keeps all the magic people, and he was having that conversation with Harley, and she's like trying to give him advice, and he's just like, "I'm not listening to you." It was funny, but you saw all the people in the dungeons behind him, which was funny.
It's funny that Harley is the voice of reason.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
He writes Harley so well.
Yeah.
So
he writes everybody so well in this.
That's true. That is true.
It's really good.
That's what I mean. Like he writes better for DC because it just seems like no matter what character he writes in this DC universe, he does just so well. Yeah. And being that he does like a lot of these, alternate universes, it's like I can do whatever I want.
Yeah. Just
which is why we got something like Wonder Woman though, because that wouldn't happen in the mainstream. And the same. What's so interesting is those characters are so queer coded. Obviously, we know Wonder Woman's bi, but we never get to see it. But then like Supergirl with this TV show, we were like, oh man, we want her with Lena, and so it's cool to see that in the comic. But go on, Brent.
I was just gonna say some writers just get certain characters, right? And I think Tom Taylor just gets the DC characters, and I mean. Granted, he can pretty much write most characters, but I don't know. There's just something about that connection that he has to those characters in particular.
So we have a question here from Warpath Marshall. Who is the new Sorcerer Supreme? So you missed our conversation. So who was it again? What's her name? Clea.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange's
I think
wife.
It's Clea Strange. I think it actually is
just Clea Strange.
So that's who it is. We did have the conversation probably about, 10 minutes ago. So if you actually rewind the show about 10 minutes, you probably have that. You'll see the conversation of what we talked about and our thoughts on the whole thing as well. All right. So let's talk about crossover issue 10. I don't know. This book is kind of losing it for me.
Really?
It's so funny. I love this issue.
This was the best issue since the first few for me. Yeah,
me too.
Like I like the ending. You know what I'm saying? But and I liked like the Michael Bendis stuff in a way. But I don't know. I'm just not. I just find myself not as intrigued as I once was for some reason.
I like this book when it has nothing to do with the main characters. Like I like this book when it's just about the writers.
I was going to say, I agree up till this issue. That's the way I've been feeling about the book, too. Yeah.
I agree, too, and I don't know how long it'll last on my pull list, but this is the type of stories I like. Like, I love the Chip Zdarsky issue when we had that special. That was cool. I think it was a couple issues ago. And this was similar for me, though. It's like you have Michael Oeming who draws powers, drawing the scene, drawing himself. I'm like, that's really meta. I like that. And then the Donny Cates ending, or like him writing himself in this, like, almost what's his face from Watchmen, Alan Moore, like an almost Alan Moore looking Donny Cates was really interesting. So I like when it's super meta, when it has to talk about writing, but I don't know if I like this story, and that's what's so frustrating about crossover. It's like I love the idea of it, but I don't really like the plot.
I think the plot's fine. It's just the characters that were our gateway into it. They don't play as big a role as they probably should, I think. So I don't know what their complete purpose is in this.
And I think that's my struggle with it. Like, I really don't know what's really going on or what is going to be. Not saying that I should know the outcome because that's good. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a very different comic, so I can appreciate that. But I just feel like I feel like there's no real movement going on right now.
Yeah.
I do feel like it's just what are you going to say, Brian?
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think it's like a very much just a commentary on the comic book industry. And because it's funny, because Figure Drawing just said, I like crossover. It's weird and fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. But I think sometimes it takes itself way too seriously. It's like, let me be, I don't want to say pretentious because I don't like throwing that word around, but just for the sake of it. feels like, let's be pretentious and talk about this metatextual thing about storytelling. And that's when it is actually at its best. But I mean, I think it does take itself too seriously sometimes.
Yeah, like, I mean, in this issue, we had that whole opening sequence where you saw the script and you were having a panel described, and then that action happened and that kind of thing.
That was cool.
But at the same time, that was like one of my favorite parts of the book. That stuff and the Bendis stuff, and the way that he no-selled Scott Snyder in that sequence too, which was kind of funny. But yeah, and just all that kind of stuff with Donny Cates and the writers and the writing aspect of it is just what appeals to me the most, and makes it different, makes it unique, I think. And while it was cool to have like, oh, let's throw in every single character under the sun and see like all these characters interact from all these different companies was neat from a visual perspective, it didn't add as much as I'd hoped to the overall story.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Right. I think this is a type of book I think that reads better in trade. I think because it comes out month to month, and since there's a lot that goes into this, I think that you can kind of lose or forget what has actually happened in the story. And then when it took its break as well, it was on that little bit of hiatus. I think it lost a lot of momentum, at least for me anyway. So I feel like if you were to read this in its trade altogether, I think you could get a much better, maybe, or a much different effect out of it too.
I think that's true for like the main plot, but then I really like the single issue experience when it comes to issues like this, where it's just like, oh, that really surprised me that Donny Cates is the villain, like I guess the villain of the story. Like I think that read better as a single issue than maybe a trade, but at the same time, I agree. Like 90% of this book does read better in trade.
Right. Okay. Cool. All right. Let's see what's next. So we talked about that. All right. So we'll move on to number 4, right, guys?
Yes.
So my number 4 was already a book we talked about. That was Batman, issue 118. So Brant, what was yours?
Mine was Black Cat Infinity Score. I enjoyed this. It was a nice wrap up to the story, and we get the reason behind this whole heist situation to save her mom from dying from cancer, and that she manipulated all the players on the board to get exactly what she wanted, and she got it in the end. And yeah, she paid for it. She went to prison, and it's the end of the series, and who knows what's going to happen. Yeah. But I enjoyed the ride, and I enjoyed her, and I think she's been brilliantly written in this series. And we saw her full arc from start to finish with this issue, and I enjoyed it. And also, it gave us more of Star and like what her ultimate motivations are and what she could potentially do in the future, which so I enjoyed it, and the art was gorgeous too. As
this is not in my top 5. I enjoyed the book.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed Felicia's motive here.
Yeah.
So the whole thing this whole time was her to get the Infinity Stone to use Star to cure her mom's cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That was the ultimate goal. And you found that out at the very end.
Right.
Which honestly, I didn't see coming. That was honestly the last thing I expected out of this book. And so it was a very simplistic thing. You know what I'm saying? A very just emotional thing from her. And it shows that Jed MacKay has really shaped Felicia into, a great character, where before she was like Spider-Man's lover or just a sexy looking character. He added layers to her and made me appreciate that character that much more. So I really enjoyed what he's done through this whole overall series that since he took from the very beginning.
Yeah. And also gave her own supporting cast, which is really cool too. Yeah. So she's got these people that they're not superheroes or anything. They're just fellow crooks, and she relies on them more than anybody. And I think that, enriched her overall little world too. So,
yeah. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Jed McKay has in store for her in the Spider-Man stories that he has left to tell. So it's not the last that he is actually writing of her.
Yeah,
we still got that Mary Jane one shot, which I'm so excited for.
Yep.
All right, so Kat, what's yours?
Mine is Mighty Morphin issue 14. This was a pretty good issue, especially for Zordon and Billy, people who have been having conflict throughout the last couple of issues. And here we get to see them reunite and make them better people, honestly. And then we have some good conversations about Matt, Kimberly, and Tommy's love triangle.
Tommy, yeah.
Tommy's love triangle. I think Zach was the one who talked about that, so that was pretty cool. It was just an overall well balanced issue for more actiony event.
Yeah, and you had Kim calling Jason out on being basically the Cyclops to Zordon's Professor X, kind of sounding just like him, and needs to listen more and that kind of thing. And then we end up with Zordon in a body, which was really odd. So
that was a good cliffhanger.
Yeah, so it was a really solid issue all the way through.
All right, cool. All right, so let's talk about Superman Son of Kal-El annual issue 1. Now, I said I wasn't going to...
It's supposedly a spec issue because it's the first time he's versing Lex Luthor. Did you guys hear about
really?
that?
No.
Yeah, my store didn't get enough issues, and they're like, oh, because people are also buying this because of Lex Luthor. I'm like, really?
It wasn't really against them though. Not really.
I was going to not buy this because we talked about it. But I forgot, since the book is on my pull list, it was already in my pull. So I wound up buying it. I wound up reading it, and I thought it was okay. I mean, it wasn't my favorite issue. The artwork was
my least favorite of the series thus far. The artwork was
a
weird.
little weak, the artwork, right? And then it had some personal service announcements in there with freaking, what was it? Was it climate change? Yeah, it was like climate change things. I was like, okay, I get it, right? But we don't need to shoot that in people's faces. I get it. I'm for climate change. I feel that we need to take care of the earth, but I don't need to hear it in my comic books.
But also just the way they put it there, it was just really forced. Yeah, it didn't feel like a fit in there. And then even the him going against Lex in the chess match, I was like, oh, this is fine, whatever. And I think it was mostly the artwork I didn't like. And also we just piggybacked off of big events with Jay and John the last issue. I'm like, why do I want this Lex Luthor story right now? I'd rather just see what's going on with them than this story. It just feels like such a weird, why do we have an annual? I don't understand why we needed it.
It was a weird story, and it was just basically, let's just put him against Lex for the heck of it. That's what it felt like a little bit. I did like some moments in here. I like Batman popping in for tea and that whole thing. And I, the chess match was fine. It felt very Clark-esque, like something Clark would do. Just the way that he, I learned all these chess moves and I could beat you this and take the L, Lex, and, take your sign down, that kind of thing. And it just felt very classic in that way, and I think the art style was probably purposely meant to be that way as well, because it felt like 80s kind of art style. But yeah, it wasn't necessary. It was fine. I didn't hate it, didn't love it.
So for me, this was the annual that you just didn't need to buy.
Yeah, I agree.
Honestly, it did not accomplish anything in it. Right. So,
but it wasn't like Nightwing, where technically nothing is accomplished in that book, but it's such a good beginning, middle, and end story. It's just a great one shot. That didn't feel like this. It wasn't a great one shot, and it also didn't progress the plot. So it was.
This had traditional annual written all over it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's what this was.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, we're having a Lex Luthor story, and then I'm like, oh, the artwork's really bad, and then I'm like, oh, we're talking about saving the Earth. And then I'm like, now we're talking about playing chess. And now we're talking about freaking taking the L off of the sign of LexCorp. I'm like, really? It was just, everything was so perfectly done. I'm going to win. I'm going to get my sign taken down. It was just I don't know. It was just there.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we talked about that one. So let's jump into our number 3 book. Cat, what was your number 3?
Mine is Batman. We already talked about it.
All right. Brant?
Devil's Reign. We already talked about it.
Okay. Mine was the Crimson Cage, and we already talked about that. All right. So let's just move along, guys, to Inferno issue 3. So
I'm
Cat
surprised you
doesn't
guys
read
are
it.
still reading it. Yeah, no, I'm done. I'm good.
Brant, was it, or is there one more? I thought there was only 3.
There has to be another one, right? After that.
It ended like there was more.
I know.
Think there's 4 issues. I thought. Let me see.
Yeah, there is 4. There's
Okay.
4. So there's one more. Yeah, and that could not be the end.
I thought we were done at 3, and I'm like, this can't end now. This is when the action is about to pick up.
Yeah. So this
overall,
it was very slow, but there were some interesting things, like the stuff with Doug and learning like that he knows all the secrets of Krakoa, and we kind of got teases on some of those secrets and how
basically,
how he built the whole infrastructure and the language and Warlock's embedded throughout all of it and all that thing, and how he doesn't trust Professor X at all.
Yeah,
I thought those things were interesting. I didn't care about the Destiny and Mystique stuff. It was just we'd already seen that.
It's kind of just there.
Yeah, we already seen that in both X-Men and Inferno. We didn't need like recaps of that and them like trying to, belittling the cuckoos and all that stuff. And it was just that a lot of it was unnecessary and repetitive. But there were a few little things that were good. And like you said, the action picked up. Moira gets taken and injured and very injured, very hurt.
Might die.
Yeah, might die.
Again.
And yeah,
that's it though. If she dies,
Nimrod
dead, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So
Nimrod shows up at the end, so that's where it picked up. But the only thing I found interesting about the whole Emma situation was we don't know. Emma looks like she's going rogue,
right?
So
she's not taking either side.
With Professor Xavier and Magneto and their whole situation with Moira. And she's not siding with Destiny or what's her face, Mystique, So I that was where I was like, okay, well, Emma's kind of like that wild card now.
Yeah, exactly.
I thought that was kind of cool.
Which is how Emma's traditionally been.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Yeah. See, it feels like you're slowly starting to get back to the point of where the X-Men traditionally are. They're falling into that place again because even Magneto and Professor Xavier were kind of going tit for tat there until the whole Moira thing actually happened.
Right. So, exactly.
So we'll see. All right. So that was Inferno. So it wasn't bad, but I thought the second issue was really good. I thought that was the best issue so far. All right, so now we're jumping into our number 2, right? So, Brant, what was your number 2?
Crossover. So we already talked about it.
Okay. Got?
Mine was also a crossover. So we talked about it.
That's funny. And mine was Devil's Reign. So that was my number 2. Okay. So that was really quick. So now we're just going to...
Do we all have the same number 1?
Scoot on down.
I think so. Is it?
Yeah, the number 1.
What's our number 1? Is it the gay kisses? Because that's
Dark Knights of Steel?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's mine.
Now. Here's my number 1. It was so good. I read it. It was mine. Yeah, it was Dark Knights of Steel for sure. Like, I really did like Devil's Reign, guys. I really did.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I was looking at it and comparing it. I'm like, yeah, Dark Knights of Steel is just too good. It's
just like there are so many beats. It wasn't just one beat that made that book good. It was just the whole freaking book. Right. I almost gave it 5 stars. I was very close to giving that 5 stars.
It's a very, very good issue. Yeah, I agree.
All right. So now we're going to talk about the chopping block, which we have Buckhead on there.
Yeah, I read an issue. I won't be reading another one. It was fine. It wasn't bad. It just it's one of those books where like I'm gonna forget about this, or I'm just gonna have other stuff I want to read more, and it just didn't grab me enough, and the art didn't really appeal to me either. So.
We do have a cool question from Jonathan. Which book will you guys read first tomorrow? For me, Batgirls. I got
Batgirls.
That. Yeah,
I think so.
It might be Batgirls. I don't know. I have to look on my list. I don't even know what I'm getting besides Batgirls.
I'm excited for Urban Legends because the Tim Drake story continues tomorrow. And we'll get into our most anticipated, but yeah, I'm going with gut. Come on, Batgirls. I'm a little nervous about it, but I'm excited to read it.
I'm gonna. Oh, you know what? Shit, I never put together a pull list this week. I don't even know. It's like a mystery. It's like living in the 90s all over again when you go to the store and you're like, what's coming out this week, guys?
Right.
There's every once in a while I forget to email my pull list, and that's like the worst feeling where I have to like go through the shelf. I'm like, oh my god, what do I have to get? I don't remember.
Yeah, see, that's what I have to do tomorrow, and then I get this like anxiety attack that someone is gonna buy something in front of me, and then they're not gonna have any more, and then I miss out of it. You know,
I usually go like very early. I usually go like when the store opens.
That's me too.
So
I do
usually
too,
good.
but still, that's when my store is the busiest.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone comes in there, and then they're in my way, and I can't look, and I'm like, "What are you looking at over there?" And then I might want to take it, like buy it before they do. It's so bad.
Well, especially those indies, you're like, oh man, you definitely want it. So it hasn't happened to me in a while, but like a couple of weeks ago, I forgot. And I was like, oh no. It was when I was just doing Comic-Con after Comic-Con. I just didn't know what day it was anymore. So I just forgot to give my pull list. And luckily my store pretty much knows a lot of the books, I guess. Like, oh, you get that, right? And then they like saved one of the bigger books that came out that week. I think it was like Hulk or something. I don't remember what it was, but they like said, oh, we know you get this.
Like, how did they have that on the rack?
I was so shocked. So I was talking to the manager of the store, and we're just like, shooting the shit. And I said, oh yeah, last week I know like Animal, whatever it's called, Animal Castle, Animal Kingdom, was a big book. Like I hear that's selling so much, and like, yeah, we still have like an issue or two left. Do you want it? I said, hell yeah. So I got it. It's still on the shelf. Nice. There's like 2 or 3 issues left.
Wow.
That's funny. And it was just like, you can't find that book anywhere except obviously on eBay or whatever.
I was shocked. I did not expect that. So when I haven't even read it yet, but it's more of like, I wanted it in my collection. I could always like read it digitally, but I was like, oh, I want to get that just to have it.
All right. And then the other book that's on the chopping block, and that's for me, is What's the Furthest Place from Home? I
dropped that last
I couldn't get in. I tried it, got about halfway through it. I'm just like, why am I reading this now? Like, there's just no point. Like, I can't get into the characters, right? There's nothing exciting about them. And I just didn't like this world. The art just didn't fit this apocalyptic like world, and just nothing about it just really appealed to me. So I'm like, I don't like it. And I don't like how every 2 pages is a new chapter. Like, I'm not reading a novel. I'm reading a comic book. Like, I don't need that. So I'm just like, you're paying for those extra you're paying for that page. Yeah. So I don't need that. Right.
Right. I was on the fence with this one after last issue, and like Buckhead, this was one I looked at. I was like, no, I got other stuff I'd rather read. So I just passed on it. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, Brian, I'll pass it to you for the most anticipated. Now I get to see some of the books that are coming out now.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So we got some interesting books coming out. Obviously, Batgirls. We'll just go ahead and talk about that one while we're
excited but nervous. I don't love the art style. And it's the same creative team, or at least the same writer who did the previous Wonder Woman volume, which I didn't really like either. I'm hearing rumors on Twitter that supposedly like Cassandra and Stephanie are around the same age as Damian Wayne. I don't know if that's true or not. We'll read it tomorrow, but I'm like, what? Like, that's weird. No. So I'm already maybe.
I could see. Yeah, I could see Cassie a little bit closer, but not Stephanie.
Well, especially because you have the Tim stuff. Yeah, same college, or at least going to college.
How old is that's Damian? Weird. 13.
Yeah,
exactly. Right? Like 14, 13. 13 so I'm 14, like, I hope that's not true. I hope I'm just like reading that wrong on Twitter. Yeah. But I'm a little nervous about the book, but it will be the first one I read tomorrow.
Yeah, that makes me a little nervous too. Okay. So, we got Wonder Girl number 6. It seems like 5 just came out.
Yeah, I was kind of worried about that. Like, I didn't think it was actually going to come out this week because we just got issue 5 last week, not this past comic book week, but just last week.
I think it's because of the delays, but the delays weren't because of art; is because of the whole printing situation that's going on. So I think that's why we're getting it so back to back. Which I'm not saying no to, because I really like that Donna Troy cliffhanger.
Yeah, for sure. And then another book that I'm not sure is going to come out, Wastelanders Wolverine, because wasn't the Wastelanders book supposed to come out this week? That didn't come out, the main one.
Oh no!
I thought that was one that was supposed to come out this week, and it did not come out.
So, which one?
Let's see. What is it called? Wastelanders.
Wastelanders.
Wolverine.
No, Wolverine's supposed to come out tomorrow.
Right.
But I thought Hawkeye was supposed to come out this past week.
Comes out next week.
It didn't.
It didn't.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they're all delayed. I wonder if Wolverine will actually come out.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Let me see Wolverine. Right now, the Hawkeye one, it comes out tomorrow, it looks like.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see tomorrow.
Which places get what, you know?
Yeah, exactly. All right. So Strange Academy, number 14. I'm actually looking forward to this because it's a flash forward to see where all these characters end up in the future. And, I love these characters. I love the story. And Mike, you and I have been talking about okay, what is the end game for these characters? What's going to happen? So now we're kind of getting a glimpse of that. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, Brent, but we got a question here from Bigger Drawing. Says, sorry if you talked about this already, but did you guys read The Many Deaths of Lila Starr? The trade paperback comes out this week or next week. Now, I never read this, but I heard nothing but really good things about this comic book.
I've heard good things too.
Style.
Yeah, that was my thing. I read the first issue. I thought it was fine, but the art style just didn't appeal to me. And again, it was another one of those books like, am I going to remember to pick this up when it comes out? Probably not, because it just wasn't. It didn't grab me that much.
Right. Gotcha. Who publishes this, Image?
Boom?
Yeah, was it Boom? Yeah.
So
I couldn't remember if it was Boom or Dark Horse, but yeah.
If that's the case, I mean, I might pick it up anyway because usually those first trade paperbacks are super cheap. They're like $10.
Yeah. I still have my stray dogs to read. Maybe during Christmas. I still have in my backpack. I haven't had a chance to read it.
Nice. All right, so we got let's see, we got Robin and Batman number 2. I didn't read this book, so
man.
Still very much recommend. Issue 1 was so good, so I'm excited to see if it's going to be on the same level.
I think it is. I really do. It's just the relationship between Batman and Dick Grayson, right? Yeah, and just seeing those two try to get along in the beginning is quite interesting. It's just like building that relationship with each other. And it was really well written. I definitely would recommend it, Brant.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe I'll check it out. And bouncing off that, Maze book, issue number 4.
Another good book.
I think this is the last issue. I think.
Is it?
I think I really like it. Jeff Lemire for me is always a win, and every issue has really brought the emotion that's needed for a book like this.
There's one more.
There's after 5. This one?
Oh, one more after this? Okay, so we have 2 more.
So, yeah, I mean, the last issue was awesome because he wound up figuring out the barrier there of breaking this wall. Remember, he got to the end of the wall and he's like, what am I going to do?
He's in the
It tells me to go here, and he goes under the sewer and he goes to the other side. And he finds his neighbor's dog that was talking to him. I was like, okay, now he's in this different dimension. Now it's almost like the same thing. Like how I had the theory, is this dude crazy? You know, is he just imagining all this stuff? Or is this a real thing where his daughter was taken away and he's got to try to find her? Like, I'm very curious.
I think it's the latter. But yeah, I'm curious as well. I think they wouldn't tell this whole grand story if we just find out he was a crazy guy.
Hey, you never know, man.
It's happened before.
I mean,
Dallas and elsewhere.
Crazy stuff. I mean, we've read so much insane stuff from him. You know, I remember that Trillium book. Remember that a long time ago?
Oh God, yeah. That was the first Lemire book I think I read. It was like a flip book where you read it one side, then you read it the other way.
That was wild, man. I was like, what the heck am I reading here? But it was good though.
I still can't tell you what it was about.
Yeah. It was so many years ago though. That shit was like probably
so
like
many years.
2012 maybe.
Yeah, it was
so
a
many
while
years
back.
ago.
Yeah.
Comic book. Trillium came out 2013.
Okay.
Wild.
Close. Yeah.
The Vertigo book. Yeah, it was a long time ago.
How long have we been doing this show?
Yeah, we've been doing this way too long,
right?
Wow. Because I know we talked about that book. Yeah.
100%. That's how long it's been. I think we've been doing this since 2012.
That's crazy. Doesn't seem like it. All right. But a book that is ending, Gun Honey #4, Mike. So.
Yeah. Gun Honey, man. I mean, what can I tell you? It's just it's a cool book. I mean, I like the character. I like what she does. Like I said, this is not for a young audience. This is definitely a mature book. There's some sex scenes that go on in this book. There's nudity in this book, but there is a story to be told. I like the story. The concept is interesting, and and it concludes here. So looking forward to it.
Cool. And then we have lost my screen. We'll go back to that. We got Hulk #2. How are we feeling about that?
Good. Look,
yeah.
I'm feeling neutral on it. Like I liked the first issue, but I didn't love the first issue. So I'm hoping I love this second issue.
Yeah. It's kind of where I'm at.
Debbie has tried 3 separate times to try to type in what is Gun Honey about, and it's just like what's gun and what's gun nerf and what's gun hunting and what's it about?
Everything but gun honey.
Yeah.
It's just she's an arms specialist that she gets hired to put guns in a special place where people want to, put hits on people. And she is actually the government is trying to recruit her to actually do special missions and things like that. And, but she kind of likes working on her own. And you got to see a little bit of a backstory on where she came from, how she was taught all these things. And it's just an 18 and older book that has just to do with adult situations in it. And the artwork is absolutely gorgeous. A lot of people bought it for the cover art itself. But yeah, it's an interesting book. I say if you can find it, which I think you can, because they got multiple printings of it, I'd say just give it a try. And it's called Gun Honey. Yeah.
Or gun hunting.
Yeah. Or gun whatever that is. Gun hunka, I think is what he typed the first one.
I think so.
Anyway, so then we got Batman Urban Legends #10. A Fear State, Ghost of Bats of Christmas Past story in this one.
Interesting. I mean, I only care about Tim. I'm excited to see Tim and his date with Bernard. But yeah, that's it.
I'm not picking it up. I just can't spend the money on this Urban Legends book.
Yeah, there's only one story in it that I'm even remotely interested in, and it's that one. And I can't. I don't know that I can justify it with all the rest.
I just wish that Tim would get his own book.
They should. I don't like how you can only write one solid story in these Urban Legend books and expect people to pay, what is it, $8 for the book?
Yeah, 8 or 9. Right?
It's like, it's an expensive book. I've been picking up because I do tend to like at least one other story in there. Like I do like that it has to do with the Bat family in general. But yeah, I think it sucks that you have to spend $10 to read this Tim Drake story. Where maybe you should just have like a mini series for Tim. Like I think he deserves that, and this storyline deserves that.
Yep, I agree. And then our final book is The Amazing Spider-Man #81 as Ben Reilly squares off against Miles Morales.
I hope that Miles is written well here. That's my hope.
Right.
Who's writing this book?
I don't know because it lists a bunch of different writers, right?
If it's Solomon Ahmed, it's not going to be written well.
Yeah,
let me see. I don't think he's writing this. Let me see. It is Patrick Gleason and Zeb Wells. Oh yeah, you're right. There's a lot of people. But me on the cover it says listed.
They're all listed because they all have.
It is Ahmed. It is Ahmed.
Oh shit!
Oh no! Oh no!
It's probably not going to be any writing in it. It's probably just going to be like one dialogue box per panel because that's all he ever writes. And now it's going to be so lame.
I think it's a shame that we already have Ahmed on Miles Morales, so we already get his voice. So it would have been nicer to see someone else's voice on the character.
I agree. I wholeheartedly. So
the only thing I'm
not as excited about the book
is how Miles deals with this situation. So if they fight, what's going to be the outcome of the fight? Is there going to be any resolve?
Right.
Is he just going to call himself, "Oh, I'm Miles"? No, put me in prison. Because how does the regular Miles Morales Miles Morales book continue? Does it still tie into that?
It's so weird because he's okay. You can't use the Spider-Man name because Beyond and Amazing Spider-Man, and you can't be a superhero because Kingpin and Devil's Reign. And then what's going on in Miles Morales now? I don't know. It's all over the place.
So if
Miles was good in that Darkhawk issue, that's all I know.
Can you not use
the best he's been?
So if you're a Spider-Woman, does that count?
Yeah, they've only got the trademark on Spider-Man, right? So I don't know. Can't use spider powers at all anymore. You know what?
Did you guys watch what's it called? Oh my god, I can't think of it right now. The fucking Netflix show. What the frick is it? Hawkeye. Jesus God.
Oh,
Disney I'm Plus, binging it. I'm binging it this for the Christmas time, so I watched the first episode, but I'm gonna watch all of it.
Oh, so you still haven't? You only watched the first episode?
So wow. I'm caught up.
I've already been spoiled a little bit. I've been waiting for my family to watch it, so that's why we never have time. So Christmas time, we'll have the whole week. So I wanted to watch that with them and the Get Back Beatles documentary. I've been waiting, or else I would watch it myself.
Yeah, it's become destination for us. It's like Wednesday night. We were watching it.
Yeah, we watched it too. My whole family. We usually watch it on Fridays. So, but yeah, it's really good. And the last episode was really good.
Yeah. So
I'm excited.
You're gonna love
There's
it.
There's 2 more. Yeah. There's 2 more episodes.
I think there's 6, right?
I think so. Unfortunately, I wish there were more.
Yeah, I wish it was longer. Yeah.
I mean, this is a really good series.
I want to see exactly when the date is. I hope it ends on Christmas as well, because that would be nice, or else we have to watch that final episode. Yeah, it doesn't even say, because the last one aired December 8th, so I'm guessing tomorrow. Yeah, it should probably end around Christmas. So excited to watch it.
It would end next week. Then it would end next Wednesday,
22nd, or I think it's 22nd. Yeah,
22nd. So
that's smart.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there we have it. So that's the show, guys. So, Brent, you want to talk about what you were going to say earlier?
Yeah. And I'm going to share that. This is a pre-launch page for my wife's upcoming Kickstarter, Bloom Pretty, a fantasy comic for a mature audience, a story of romance, obsession, murder, and plant people. I mean, how can you go wrong? So go follow that. We're really excited about this. We got some great art coming in for this, and we're got a long runway before this launches, so it's going to launch early next year. But definitely go follow it so you don't miss it. And we'll be talking more about that in the weeks to come.
All right. Perfect. All right, guys. So that is it. So like I said earlier, we will be off the air for the next 2 weeks. So hopefully you guys
talk about Spider-Man when we return.
Yeah, for sure.
Spider-Man. And Hawkeye, hopefully I'll have it all watched so we can talk about Hawkeye as well.
So yeah, we'll be back in 2 weeks in the new year in 2022. So hopefully everyone enjoys their holidays. So of course, guys, if you like this video or this stream, please give it a thumbs up. Really appreciate it. It does help our channels, Comic Book Corner 2.0 and Comic Book Weekly. Don't forget to hit the bell so you don't miss any notifications from us when we go live. Again, subscribe to the channels. And, of course, follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and, of course, the all-important YouTube. So, guys, happy holidays. We'll see you next year. Thank you so much, everyone.